beautiful people. Welcome back to K&M On Demand and K&M After Dark.
That's right.
Today, our topic is a little interesting, I'll say. So, he has no idea what it is, but the topic is, can the relationship succeed if she's bad at the sex? Or if he's bad at the sex?
Okay, so can a relationship succeed if sex is bad?
Yes.
Okay, we're assuming it's a marriage, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the answer is no. The relationship will not succeed if there is terrible sex.
Okay.
Unless are we able to use sex toys?
Sex is sex. You can do whatever you want.
Well, no, we need to just differentiate. If this person's not using sex toys, the relationship will not succeed.
But you can use that to enhance it if it's already bad by itself.
Right, but I think if the sex is... We're just going to go ahead and say no. We're just going to say no.
You're just going to say no.
No, the relationship will not succeed.
So, divorce. Because of some sex.
Yeah.
It's just a deal breaker for you.
Yeah.
I want a divorce.
If the sex is bad, the relationship can't succeed because you're not... A large part of what makes a marriage whole, finances, sex, intimacy, family, right? It's a lot of what the relationship is. It's a friendship anyway.
Right.
I feel like if you're not allowed to have sex with anybody else, and that is something that all human beings need, but the sex is terrible, on top of you not having sex with anybody else, you will eventually be very unsatisfied. I think that overall, human beings are designed for interaction, but we need to be intimate with somebody. Someone somewhere needs to be making us feel loved in a way that we cannot get from somewhere else. It makes them unique.
Right.
I feel like because the sex is terrible, it will impede the way that I view you and may enhance the way I see someone else. And if that happens, I don't think long term that's good for a successful marriage or relationship.
So, why get married in the first place if the sex was never good?
Well, I think that the only way that happens is if you either were not having sex. I don't know too many people that would say the sex is terrible and I'm still going to marry you.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that's going to happen.
Right. So if you went to the point of getting married to her, knowing how the sex was, why even get married? Why maybe perhaps have kids just to get a divorce because the sex isn't there and your eyes are starting to look in other places?
Well, I feel like some men sometimes are naive. Some men believe they can actually enhance a woman sexually. They can train her. They can teach her.
I actually agree with that. I feel like I can teach a man, train a man how I want to be pleased to enhance our sex.
You can do that to an extent. If the sex is bad due to technique or things of that nature, that is a trainable offense. That's one thing. Mm-hmm. If the sex is bad based on physical ability, that's a whole different thing.
Physical ability. I need you to elaborate on that because when you say physical ability, I'm thinking of two different things here. I'm thinking about something you can't help and something you can help physically.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is, let's say, for the woman's standpoint, we're having sex and mentally she's just not a very sexual person. She's always dry or she's not very experimental.
Is that her fault or your fault?
Who knows? Some people will be the women's, some people sometimes it could be the dude's fault. There's different factors that play a role. Mm-hmm. Either way, let's say you've done everything you can to help that situation. It's just not getting better. Okay. Right? You guys can have what we call poor sexual chemistry, where you just don't do it for each other.
Don't get married. I'm not getting married if we have poor sexual chemistry.
Sometimes people don't find that out because they don't have sex before they get married. And so when that happens...
More people have sex before marriage than not. We've had another episode about that, and you agreed. So don't try and change it now. To watch that
episode, click the link at the top. But what I'm saying is, for me personally, let's just say I was dating somebody, and the oral sex was terrible. We tried to teach it, still wasn't good. Physically, your mouth was too small. You just couldn't do things, or you were unwilling to try certain things. That would be a strike. Let's say the intercourse was terrible. for multiple reasons.
That can be fixed.
Not all the time. Some people have physical limitations that impede the level of teaching, training, fixing that can actually occur.
So let's get into it. That's what I want to understand. Like, what is it about it that can't be fixed and what can be fixed? We'll get into it.
All right. So, like, oral sex. Let's start with the mouth.
Okay.
All right. So, some women are not able to have as much involvement in terms of how far they're able to go as other women. On top of that, they lack the desire to do other things that may aid in that experience for the man. In between the lack of ability to do one thing and the lack of the desire to do another, or the lack of the willingness, that can create a negative experience with the guy.
Okay.
You have other people, let's say for intercourse sake, where it may be painful for them. So they are not willing to open up or try certain things in fear of the unpleasure that they may feel.
Can I stop you there? If it is painful during intercourse, I feel like there's two things there. One, she could possibly have a sickness. There's a sickness for that, like where pain, you get pain during intercourse. That's something that it's just health related. Then there's a second thing. You're probably not doing what pleases her. You have to be willing as the man to be the one taking over the sex, to do what feels good to her. You can have sex with her without hurting her.
Right, and I'm not saying you intentionally hurt her. I'm saying even if you try to do what she's asking you to, it can still cause her pain. You could be too large. You could just not work out. It can still cause her pain. Mm-hmm. And so in that situation, that just might not be something that you are fond of over the long term. Like I said, and I'm assuming we're not using sex toys or anything like that.
All right, so now let's throw sex toys in there.
If you throw sex toys in there, I feel like there's a lot that can be done.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot that you can do to change the experience for either partner, depending on your ability to open up, try new things, find out what you both enjoy, and then find out what helps each of you have a more intimate experience with each other. Ultimately, the goal of sex is to grow closer and to have a fun experience physically. And I feel like if you can do both things at the same time consistently, you can have great sex. I feel like if you don't do that, or you don't take the time to learn your partner, or you don't figure out how to enhance the sex that you guys have naturally, I feel like it won't reach optimal levels. And over time, I feel like if out the gate, it will ultimately get worse, if not starting off.
All right, fair enough. So my answer to that question, though, I feel like if I just in general had to answer, can a relationship still succeed if the sex is bad? I'd say yes. And that's because I just feel like so much can be done to fix it.
But we're not talking about if you're fixing it. We're talking about if it's just bad.
But yeah, and if it was, let's say I was with someone and it was bad, we're already married. Okay, I just don't feel like that's a valid reason to get a divorce, especially if we have kids, just because our sex is bad.
Right, okay.
And you should be mature enough to not feel like you need to do someone else just because our sex is bad. Let's work on that, because I just feel like there's so many ways to play and fix it.
Right. There's a lot you could do.
Yeah. So it's just not an automatic failure. Marriage is over. No.
I'm saying if you have no kids...
Okay.
You don't have a mortgage together. You don't have anything tying you together other than your marriage. You've tried to work that out and enhance it, and it's still bad.
Okay.
Then what?
Therapy.
Sexual therapy.
Okay.
How do you think that would help?
Because I feel like we don't have anything tied together, right? Like you just said. But we're still married at the end of the day. It's not a relationship. So I feel like therapy would help, because there may be a possibility that the two aren't talking about things that they need to admit to each other to fix the sex. And a therapist coming in between that might get some things out of them that would bring some aspects of the sex to light, where the therapist can then give them some solutions, go back home, try it a few times, and if it doesn't work, okay, now you get the F on marriage. Go ahead and go your separate ways.
So ultimately...
But just try when you're married. I just feel like you have to try.
So ultimately, to answer the question, okay, we've done therapy. We've tried different things. If the sex is bad, will the marriage still work?
No.
All right.
After all that, no.
You see how she complicated that, right? Now, I agree with you. You should try those things before giving up.
But you didn't mention therapy. You didn't mention that it could be fixed. You automatically just came out the gate and was like, over. No.
Because I figured we'd already had tried those things. I figured most people aren't going to just give up on the marriage out the gate. You're going to try something.
I don't think people even know about sexual therapy. I don't think people know that that's an option.
Sexual therapy is an option.
And also, maybe the two people have never tried sex toys a day in their life. That might be an introduction to both of them. And because it's something new, that might change the whole game. And that might be the fix that they needed.
Yeah,
something
some
new.
people are into sex toys. Some people are into bondage. Now, let's get this juicy here. Let's say the sex with me and you is bad, hypothetically. Do you allow maybe to bring someone else into that experience, a threesome, that may help each of us have more enjoyment from the experience to save the marriage? Would that be something you'd be willing to do? Or a woman should or a man should be willing to do?
No.
She said no.
Because then I feel like we are inviting, spiritually speaking, a spirit into our marriage. And that's not what it's about. I just don't think you should invite another being into your marriage. Now, relationship, sure, you want to play, we could play. But in a marriage, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess at the end of the day, we both agree in this instance, we've tried everything, X, Y, and Z. We tried toys, we tried therapy, we tried understanding and communicating with each other better.
Right.
And none of it works. We don't have any kids or anything bonding.
Right.
We would let that marriage go.
Right. No.
Yeah. So let us know what you think, guys. Do you think a relationship can succeed if the sex is not optimal? It's terrible. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this topic? It's actually a very popular topic amongst couples right now because people don't realize the number one reason marriages fail is finances. The number two reason is sex. So let us know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for another episode of K&M After Dark and K&M On Demand. I'll see you guys later.
Goodbye, beautiful people.
Bye, guys.